What's up guys? So today I wanted to take a look at the new Spider-Man and Venom 2-pack from the Hasbro release. Spider-Man is going to come on a 360 flat and Venom is going to come on a 380 needle. First impressions, I think the designs look pretty good. I think they're some of the better looking redesigns out of the gate. The ratchets I think are very nice on both. With Venom we get the completely black 380 ratchet, so I guess it's not completely opaque here. Still that same sort of translucent black that we've been seeing, but I think because you've got the black around the edges and in the center, it does become a lot darker. So yep, 380 there. On Spider-Man, you've got the 360 ratchet, and it comes in almost an orangey sort of red here. I thought this was going to be a lot darker with actually a very black center. And, you know, in the box, it does look like it's supposed to be a blue, but it's definitely not blue at all. It's completely just black. And then if we put them right up next to each other, you can see that it really is identical, that color in the center. But yeah, I wish this was a bit more of an actual red rather than this orangey red, but I can think of a few different blades that could actually look really nice on. So then we go to the bits here. Spider-Man comes on this dark navy blue flat bit, which is very nice looking. This is the color that I thought the center of the ratchet was going to be. You can see just how different those look, but I think this is a very nice color to get this bit in. And then we come to Venom's bit, which is a needle in black. Needle is not the best bit, but it's always nice to have colors in just black. And now one thing I forgot to mention is that Venom is a rework of Dran's sword, and Spider-Man is a rework of Tail Viper. So Spider-Man is going to come in at 33.2 grams, and Tail Viper is going to come in at 34.3. So a bit of a difference there, and unfortunately that is going to be enough to make a difference in performance, but the weight is not everything, and even though these shapes are very similar, we're going to have to test them against each other to see how they match up. So now let's take a look at Venom. He is going to come in at 34.2 grams, and Dran's sword is going to come in at 34.8. So much smaller difference there. That is probably to the point where it's within the sort of normal variance range, and you're not going to see huge differences in performance just based on weight alone. We can take a look at the differences in the blades as well. You see that the big attack points are generally kind of the same. This is something I've heard people say, and I can just about detect it in person, that the Dran sword point here is just a bit sharper than the Venom point in the same position. It's very, very slight, but from what people are saying, it has actually made a difference in battle, so we're going to test that out. And then other than that, just mostly kind of cosmetic changes here. It is going to affect the blade edge slightly, but you know, that kind of adds another aggressive point there, so that could end up going to make this blade even just a bit more offensive than it normally is. And let's take a look at some of the details for these two. Yeah, interestingly, Tail Viper is a lot more detailed than the Spider-Man blade. You pretty much just have these spiderweb patterns around, and then otherwise it's pretty smooth, whereas you get actually a lot of details in the Tail Viper. One interesting thing is on these two blades, on both of them, you do have that little hexagonal pattern, honeycomb kind of pattern in the center that you can just see through the translucent plastic. So that is going to be there on both of them. And I guess it sort of does match a lot of the cinematic Spider-Man suits as well. So pretty nice looking, but I do wish it had a little bit more detail that was a little bit more thought out than just kind of slapping a spider web on there. All right, so let's get these built. Alright, so first I'm just gonna do a couple test launches with Venom on its own to just see how it performs on the stock combo. In this video I'm just gonna be testing stock combos. If you want me to do a combo testing video on these blades, let me know in the comments. Let's give this a launch. So just about what you'd expect from the needle bit. It's going to want to stay in the center, stay pretty upright, and not move around much. We are going to probably start to see a wobble here pretty soon, because the wobble is another thing the needle bit is known for. And this being on an 80 height ratchet, it's going to have its center of gravity shifted up. So should start to see a wobble fairly soon here. I might only give this one test launch each, because we're just going to be sitting here watching this slowly spin out. I am surprised how long this is staying so straight up and down. The needle bit is known to have a lot of instability, and we're not really seeing a lot of that here. Maybe its shape is sort of complementing the kind of, you know, edges going around there. Alright, finally starting to wobble here. This has been extremely stable. And there we go. Yeah, once it loses the stamina it needs to stay upright, it just totally will never return there. So now let's give Spider-Man a test launch. This one's probably going to go a lot faster because we're going to be on the flat bit here. So it's giving some nice controlled X dashes there, which is, you know, a typical behavior of that flat bit. But I'm not seeing a ton of power behind those X dashes, so we're gonna have to see if those play to its favor or just kind of drain its own stamina. And there we go. All right, let's give each of these a launch and see how they do against each other. That's a point for Venom. Decent big jump from the Spider-Man there, living up to his name, I guess. Yeah, see what you're seeing now is that needle bit get knocked off. And once it does get knocked off, it's not coming back. But that was kind of a late launch, so Venom was able to win that one. Let's do Venom here. Another Venom win, and naturally Venom is going to have the advantage here. Not only is it a bit heavier, it's got the needle bit, so it's going to be on more of a defensive kind of setup versus this very attack-oriented Spider-Man build. Big hit from Spider-Man there. Big hit there, but Venom is going to take that. And a nice smooth KO of Spider-Man. couple pretty solid hits from Spider-Man there, but Venom absolutely tanking those. It does seem to be a bit more defensive than Dran's sword, which is something I've heard people say. I mean, I know it's on a defensive build, but there you go. KO. It's a bit odd to me that Spider-Man is on a 60 height and Venom is on a 80 height. You would think they would make these combos the opposite, just given that Venom's attack patterns are much more upward, so it would benefit him to kind of get up underneath his opponent, and Spider-Man has these downward sloping edges, so you in theory want to get him up on top of the opponent, knocking downward. But let's give each of these combos a try against their original counterpart. So we'll start with Venom and Dran sword. Just Dran sword is going to be on a 470 flat. So solid hit from Dran's sword there. It's going to be another big KO from Dran's sword. I think Dran's sword is going to be kind of overpowering this non-defensive defensive build. So I think I'm going to swap these out. I'm going to put Venom on the same combo as Dran's sword, more of an attack build, so we can see how they do against each other. So this should be the same combo now as the Dran sword, and we're going to see how it does in a more attack-based layout. Big hits from both, but Dran's sword is going to take that. Venom, some big hits, taking the win. Alright, another win from Venom. In theory, Venom should be doing a little bit better here because it's a little bit more leaning towards defense than Dran's sword, just with its more rounded off attack points. And typically defense is going to be a good matchup against an attack type. All right, Venom with the burst there. So yeah, I think Venom is very comparable to Dran's sword here. Little tiny bit leaning more towards defense, but without really sacrificing very much attack power. So I think you could definitely use it in place of Dran's sword in your deck, and it would be a welcome addition. Pretty happy with that Venom release. Let's take a look at Spider-Man, which is again on 360 flat versus Tail Viper, which is going to be on the default 380 high needle. This is more like what I would have expected from Spider-Man, with again these downsloping attack points. They're going to want to get up on top and knock downward to destabilize. So we're going to see how these two do against each other. Spider-Man could have an advantage being a low build that's focused on attack. You might be able to get up under there and cause a burst. Pretty big jump from Spider-Man there. Yeah, this is, you know, again, this is a tall build, so it's going to be likely to burst. But it's a defensive build, defensive leaning build. so it's going to have a bit of an advantage in theory against the very attack-heavy Spider-Man blade here. But Spider-Man was able to destabilize and get the spin KO. And it's going to be Tail Viper. Finding Spider-Man does not really have a lot of weight behind its attacks. I mean that both literally and figuratively. Knocked out by Tail Viper there. That's the thing, is even though this is a bit more of a defensive build, it definitely is more of an attack blade. So you're going to kind of have a little bit of both there. So I think with this setup, Spider-Man is going to have the disadvantage. I only have one high needle, so we're going to have to find a combo as a mix of the two. I think I'm going to go for something high, but also something with an attack focus. I decided to use these two 470 ratchets in red, so it's going to match Spider-Man there. This ratchet is going to have a decent propensity to burst, given that it's a little higher, and it's a four-sided ratchet, so these edges are going to jut out a little bit more, but it's going to be a fair matchup to see who is going to be able to capitalize on that attack power better. So let's see how these two do against each other. Ooh, almost a KO. Ooh, big hit there. All right, really dominant start from Tail Viper there. And that's a self KO. That was a snipe. Interesting, okay. Kind of got up under Spider-Man there. Was able to knock it out. Okay, win from Spider-Man there. Let it play. And that's probably going to be another win from Tail Viper. Yep, another spin finish. Big hit there. Okay. Spider-Man scoring the destabilization. always feel like attack bays are hard to test against each other because whichever one you launch first kind of goes crazy and gives the other one a lot of stamina advantage in the beginning. Alright, pretty big hit from Spider-Man there, but he did get launched first. Or second, I mean, so... And he's gonna have that stamina advantage. And solid defeat. I think this is another case like we saw kind of like with Yelkong, where it's not that one is so much better than the other that they're not even comparable, but it's just the Tail Viper is going to have a little bit more consistency over that Spider-Man blade. It's just going to come out on top enough to be definitively better. They're going to kind of trade a lot on attacking KOs, but when it comes down to stamina, I'm sort of seeing Tail Viper have the edge there. So I wouldn't really want to run Spider-Man over Tail Viper, but again, I haven't done any deeper testing than besides what you've seen here, so if you guys want me to go more in depth and try to find a combo that can work, let me know and I can see what I can do. Alright, so that's my first look at the Spider-Man and Venom 2-pack. I think the Venom blade is pretty cool and has an interesting sort of utility, whereas the Spider-Man blade is a bit more of a letdown. It's just another one of those examples similar to Yelkong, where the original blade, in this case Tail Viper, is just better in almost all cases than the Spider-Man blade, or as good. So there's not really a lot of reason to choose the Spider-Man blade over the Tail Viper blade, even if you're just kind of looking for something fun. Whereas the Venom blade actually does the same thing, but correctly, where it doesn't just mimic the original Dran sword, it sort of takes a different approach on it. It really does not look like much, but from what I'm seeing, those dulled off edges are making a bigger difference than I expected. It's kind of giving it its own unique place in the meta that's not just the same but worse. I think if you're interested in this pack for the Venom blade, I do think you get some good parts with the Spider-Man set as well, though the blade may be bad. I think this slightly orangey red with the black center for the ratchet on a 360 looks really nice. 360 is a pretty useful height. Then you also get the navy blue flat bit, which is another really good bit that has plenty of utility in a nice color. You do get a good package overall, I think. Then for Venom, you get the 380 in all black, which is very nice looking. I always love getting parts in all black. Similarly, you get the needle bit in black, and again, the whole package looks nice, gives you some nice parts. My general rule of thumb is if I'm kind of fond of 2 of the 3 parts that it comes with, I think it's a pretty decent pickup, and I do think this meets that. So that kind of concludes my first impressions here. If you'd like to see me do a deeper combo dive into either of these blades, let me know in the comments. That's about it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one.